work on my survival crafting MMO built in Unity 3D and TypeScript. I finished up yesterday's stream with quite a few bugs in my A-star implementation. I had been working on getting it to load or to generate a search graph for multiple chunks and to connect those chunks through to each other. Uh, Unfortunately, there's just something wrong that's preventing it from moving from one chunk to another. So today I'm going to work on getting to the bottom of what's actually going wrong, and maybe show people a bit about how I think about these things. Hopefully it's a fairly straightforward process to fix the bug. These kind of bugs I expect will take me, I'm probably going to regret putting an estimate on this, but I reckon I should be able to find this in maybe half an hour to an hour. If that's the case, then I'll then move on to getting the string pulling algorithm implemented. The string pulling algorithm, the first cut of it is going to be pretty simple. I'm not expecting that to be too difficult. So I'm getting pretty close to having all the coding done for this weekend's devlog episode. We should be live on both Twitch and YouTube. Yes, we are. So hello to everyone on both of those platforms. Okay, so the issue that I'm having, let's see if I can demonstrate the issue. The issue that I'm having is when I do a search, you'll notice that my origin is a long way out in the X direction, so this will definitely be in a different chunk. It would help if I ran my service. So this is the A-star implementation we're looking at here. It is a typical A-star. When the queue is empty, if the queue is not empty, it pulls something off the queue. It looks at each of its neighbors and it considers updating the state of the neighbor. So if this is a better path to this node, then it updates it and adds the neighbor into the queue. This is all pretty normal. What's a little bit unusual in my implementation is that I need to have two different ways of visiting a neighbor, because if the neighbor is within our current chunk, then we already have all the data loaded. If it's in a different chunk, then we might need to load some other data, and I don't actually store a reference to the cell that we're connecting to. So when we do find that we need to potentially load another chunk, what we do is we take our hex mod. Remember, this is just an integer that refers to a voxel within a chunk. It's a single integer, and there's some cool maths that can be done with it, but I won't go into that right now. We make sure that we have the other chunk loaded, and the graph for it has been built. We then look for a cell within that other graph that has where's this code? That has a hex mod matching the one that we're trying to link to, and has an external link linking to our own hex mod. So we're basically trying to find two cells in different chunks that are trying to link to each other. Now, if we look at this code here, now this should always match exactly one cell. It will never match more than two, because if I bring up my source material, I've been researching the funnel algorithm. If I bring up my source material for hex mod, here is the way that the hex mod gets assigned to hexagons within a chunk. And you'll notice that within a chunk, number 30, if my chunks were this size, my chunks are actually a lot bigger than this, but number 30 can connect 29, 3, or 4. That can happen in different chunks, but if we are trying to get from 30 to 4, 4 can only connect back to 30 this way. So once we've selected the appropriate chunk to connect into, we do just need to find a reciprocal link back the other way. And there should be exactly one cell, one triangle just on the corner of this hexagon here, just over on the edge, sorry, of this hexagon, that links back into here. So there should always be exactly one. But you'll notice I'm hitting this breakpoint in here where we have no matching cells. Now, I have separately confirmed that we do, I'll just change this to an else, but we do come into this code here sometimes. So I know that it's not, well, I'm fairly confident it's not anything wrong with this code here because it is able to find links. Well, I should just check that. Yes, this looks right to me. So yeah, I think that this must be a problem in my graph build, but it's going to be really hard to debug. So the first thing I guess I should do is first of all make sure that this does happen still on a smaller chunk size. So the very first thing I always do when I'm debugging these kind of things is I just drop my chunk size way down. Now, I'd normally change it down to 0, but I don't think I can do that in this case. And the reason is this. If I have a chunk radius of 0, then I'll only have one hexagon within each chunk. And in that case, we will have multiple matching cells in adjacent chunks because we'll have 6 cells, one per triangle within this hexagon, and then 6 cells here, and they'll all be linking from hexmod 0 to hexmod 0. So I don't think I can have a radius of 0. So for debugging purposes, I'll set my radius to 1. So we will have we'll have basically 7 hexagons per chunk. And then my logic around linking up these cells between chunks should work. So setting that to 1 will just really simplify my debugging. So I need to confirm that it is still an issue when we only have a radius of 1. Let's just do that. And sure enough, we are still coming into this code here. So next step, let's manually inspect what these graphs look like. We can probably just breakpoint right up the top here so that we can see our first external linkage being considered. I will also put a breakpoint in here. In fact, let's just, yes, let's do that. So I'll stop this, rerun it. And here we go. All right, so this has crashed. Let's just try that again. This is just an issue with my development environment. I still don't know what's causing things to crash when I hit breakpoints, but it seems to go better if I just wait a bit for everything to stabilize before I hit breakpoints. All right. So down in here, we have, I can step, here we go, F8, there we go. So this hex mod is 5. Let's just take a look. Can I get this UI to update? Just going to see if I can update this UI to show smaller radii. One of the great things about this site is it does let you sorry, I'm trying to think at the same time. It does let you change things like the radius. And then it will go and update the rest of the graphics and things. So if we set our radius to 1, let me edit it, please. Edit. We set our radius. Why is it not letting me edit that? R equals 1. Here we go. It's updated. S is just an intermediate value. A is the area, is 7. And now if we come up here, this is the chunks that we're working with at the moment. I really do like this site for this reason. So at the moment, we are looking at a hex mod of 5. So we are looking at, say, for example, this one here. Now, we are an external linkage, so we're definitely going to be on the right-hand side of this hexagon. So we could be linking to 2, 3, or 6. So let's look at our external linkage. We're coming from 5, and we're trying to get to hex mod 2. So this is considering coming down to the right here. We're trying to go from this 5 down to this 2. Let's check that everything else makes sense. Our external linkage. We are trying to connect to chunk. This doesn't look right to me. Trying to connect to chunk 1, 0. Now, my X value is huge. So what is my origin cell? My origin cell is 24, is in chunk 24, -5. When you move to an adjacent chunk, only one of these values, well, but potentially both of them, but these cannot change by more than 1 when moving to an adjacent cell. So something is definitely not right here. Our state, because this external linkage has come from the portals on this state's cell. So let's come into these. Let's look at state.cell. And sure enough, this cell is in our origin chunk. And what do we have in here? Yeah, none of that really matters. Here are our portals. We have 3 portals. 2 of them are just regular internal links, which is exactly what we expect. This links to a cell in the same chunk, exactly what we expect. This one links to a cell in exactly the same chunk. But my external link, which is this one here, is linking to the wrong chunk. Okay, so I suspect what's happening here is when we're generating these linkages, I bet you this is the chunk coordinate relative to the chunk we're considering. Now, my plan for this episode was actually to refactor this code, but I may put that on the back burner if the bug is as simple as that. So, oops, let's get into build chunk graph. Find the code that builds the external linkages. The 2 chunk is the global axial target center. Yes, that's exactly what the problem is here. These vectors that we're using on the cells are relative to the center of the chunk. So we should not be using just 2 chunk, we should be setting this to from cell dot coord plus uv plus the 2 chunk. There we go. Now this should not be called global. I'm going to call this relative axial because this is relative to the chunk. I'm going to rename this to chunk delta because this is the change that needs to be applied to our existing chunk coordinate. So yes, my plan was to refactor this code. If it is as simple as this change just here, then I will put that on the back burner. Maybe, I'll see. I may work on the string pulling algorithm. Let's not get ahead of myself. Let's just debug this, see if we get a sensible path out of it. And hopefully get rid of my breakpoints. I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint. If we hit this one here, then things are still broken. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy. Okay, we're still hitting that. So I was really hoping it was just as simple as having the wrong coordinate on my linkages. So I'll look at this again. We had troubles finding the remote end of a link between 2 chunks here. So where is my external link? External linkage is here. Now, for anyone who's just joined, I'm seeing the number bounce up and down a bit there. I am working on fixing bugs in the pathfinding for my survival crafting MMO. And once I have these bugs fixed, I will move on to smoothing the results of this pathfinding algorithm. So we do appear to be connecting to the correct chunk here. Our existing one is, where are we? We're coming from 24 negative 5. Oh, and we're trying to link to 24 negative 5. That's not good. We should never have an external link from one chunk into that same chunk. So if I come back to here, I can put a breakpoint in here, trying to find, I assume that I'm sometimes applying a chunk delta of 0 in here. Let's see. With the smaller radius on my chunks, it shouldn't take me too long just to step through this code and see it messing up. I need to trigger that. There we go. Nope, we've crashed. Make sure the services start again. Okay. So in here, my chunk delta is 0, 0. Okay. I don't think that should ever happen for an external linkage. So my logic for calculating this must be wrong. So my target relative axial is 1, 0, which is within the chunk. Now I'm expecting this to be an axial coordinate outside the chunk. So we should have either the Q or the R component that you can see there, just in here. At least one of those should be 2 or negative 2. Now, it messed up on our first time through this code, so that makes it really easy for me to debug. I'll just get the breakpoint up the top, try and visualize what it is that it's doing. Now this, I do have a to-do on here that this is hacky code, so maybe I need to do a refactor to actually not do it the hacky way. So I'm creating a new portal. This is just a link between two cells. For anyone who missed yesterday's stream, I renamed vertices and edges in my graph context to be cell and portal, just to remove some of the ambiguity in my commentary and me understanding my code. Yes, hello Node. Yes, I am coding a massively multiplayer online game. The backend is being written in TypeScript, and I am debugging my pathfinding at the moment. Feel free to ask any questions. I am more than happy to ask questions. I don't think people mind me repeating myself, and I certainly don't mind repeating myself. So feel free to ask questions. Yeah. So we are trying to, and don't worry if you don't understand all the context here. I am quite a few months into developing this game. There are a lot of concepts, and but there's nothing too complicated in here. The complication with my pathfinding is that I am operating on a hexagonal coordinate system. So rather than being on a square grid, my world is built on hexagons, and those hexagons are then built up into chunks. So I'm trying to build the search algorithm to find paths through those chunks at the moment. Okay, so we are trying to come from a hex mod of 1. So going back to my reference material, I'm trying to build a linkage from perhaps this hexagon out to, it could be one of these 3 hexagons, but we are apparently trying to go out to an external one. We have what have we got? We've got 2 corners. And we have a cell location. Now I'm just going to get a feel for which direction we're going in. So my cell center, ignoring the Y component, is going to be coming from a half, -2-ish. And we are trying to go to 1, -7. Oh, and 1, -7. That doesn't look right. That definitely doesn't look right. These 2 corners are meant to be either this corner and this corner, or this corner and this corner, or this corner and this corner. Can I change the scale on these pictures? This is... thought there was a way that I could scale these up. Just give me a moment here, because everything is very, very small. I'm sure there's a way I can scale it up. Maybe not. And somewhere in here, there is a constant I can change. I might just have to leave it. Do a search for... Oops. No, don't do that. The really nice thing about this site that I use as one of my references is it does let you edit the code that's used to generate these images. But yeah, I can't find it. So I'm just going to have to deal with that. Okay, so these should never have the same coordinate. That is bad. Corner locations being passed in come from in here. Corner locations come from the corner indices, if I remember correctly. And these are not the same. Okay. So we do get the corner indices. Oh, here it is. A bit silly. Okay, this looks better. We now correctly have two different corners. So one of them has a bigger X than the other. The other one has a more negative Z than the other. So this looks like a diagonal edge of some sort. Let's just pull up this. So we're coming from Hexmod here. I'm not sure which of these two. It's one of these two edges here that we're considering. Hopefully, this gets a chunk delta, which is not 0, 0 anymore. Nice. So I may have just fixed this problem. Let's run that. Something crashed. But this is definitely behaving differently to before. Path controller line 397. Yeah, this controller is apparently almost 500 lines long, so I'm a bit disappointed about that. Okay. So we are getting a result out of it. This is a good thing. I'll just break on that line. Oh, I didn't need to restart the server. I will restart the server anyway. Hit up the endpoint that tests this code, and states should have the path in it. And it looks like a legitimate path. This is good. And then for each state, we look at something called the followed portal. Yes. On our first state, we don't have a followed portal. Because the first state is just the origin, and we didn't go through a portal between two cells to get there. So I just need to put in here a filter state.followed portal. State goes to state.followed portal. There we go. Give this a whirl and take out that breakpoint. And we should get back a really nice long path here. Make sure the server has come up. That looks up. Another crash. Yes. Huh. So now the issue is that this segment thing, well, in fact, 2 only exists on a followed portal when we're following a portal within a chunk. So I need to put a bit more logic in here to work out the portal between the interchunk links. It's easy enough. If state.followedPortal.to, then return that. Yes, I do need to do that. Don't need these anymore, I don't think. I do. Really? All right. Otherwise, I'm going to do one better here. I'm actually going to take a copy of the segment as we traverse through a portal and place it on the state. So I can just get rid of all of this code and I can just say state.segment, which doesn't exist yet, but then I will go and place that on my state class, my state interface, sorry. So I've got the followed portal and we'll have a traversed segment. So this is just the line segment that we're crossing over to get between two parts of the graph. So this can either be a vector 3, so a pair of points, or it could be null. That matters in this case where parent state is null. Okay, this should have some other errors. We need to tell it in here that the traversed segment is null, because we don't have one for the root state. This is our starting position. And then down in here, handle internal portals. So this is portals within a chunk. This is just going to be the traversed segment is going to be the portal dot to dot segment. I'll say or null. It can never actually be that, but this is just a little bit safer. What doesn't it like there? Oh, it doesn't like the semicolon. Down in here, it's a little bit trickier because we don't store those line segments between chunks. However, let me see. I'm not sure that I have enough information at this point. I think it's all been thrown away. It gets gathered while we're building the graph, the search graph. Sometimes it's called a Nav Mesh in things like Unity. Traversed segment is going to have to be... Can I just put... Okay, I'm mixing around what I'm doing here quite a lot. I am going to move segment onto the portal. I think I've got a portal type somewhere in here. Yes. I have been storing it on the to field, but I think I need to move that. I do already have a segment field. So what I'm going to do in here is just pass the cell. That's going to take the cell. There's a to-do there about optimality of the search, and I have researched that and decided that if it matters to the optimality of the solution, I really don't care. So there's that. This needs to return just the cell. So let's do that, or undefined, yep. And I think I can just return this dot too. Then I need to put accesses on the segment. Set segment, which is going to take a pair of vector 3s. So that is the endpoints of the segment that we're crossing through. The segment's really important for these for the edges in this graph, because this is the Mike Burns says there's a definite distinction between a search graph and a nav mesh. Part of the primary optimization purpose of a nav mesh is to coalesce contiguous regions of the pathfinding space. Yeah, that's fair. However, I would argue that a nav there is a one-to-one. Once you've built a nav mesh, it is a search graph at that point in time. It's an optimized search graph, but it is still a search graph. And the same argument can be made for search graphs. So if you've got a search graph that is, as you say, 4 equilateral triangles, you can still optimize that graph. So a nav mesh, I guess it's fair to say that a nav mesh is an optimized graph, but I would argue that a graph should also be optimized. Now, I'm intentionally not optimizing my graph just because I need to find the inflection points. My terrain is 3-dimensional, and I need to find the inflection points where, in um, a certain region, there's going to be bits of terrain that do that or that. And so I guess the other thing is that nav meshes do also have an extra constraint, which is that the cells of a nav mesh must represent convex polygons. You cannot have concave polygons in a nav mesh. I think that's actually also true just for the general graph sense, because otherwise I'm not sure how you could prove optimality of the solution. But I would argue that the two concepts are very closely related. If you accept that search graphs can be optimized, and that search graphs in general should be optimized. Not sure if you agree with that, Mike. This is going to say this dot underscore segment is going to be equal to endpoints. Might as well just call this segment. Public get segment is going to return a vector 3. Vector 3. I'm probably really annoying any JavaScript programmers out there with all my boilerplate, but they will deal with it. There we go. Okay, we need these to support undefined, because the root node cannot have segments. It can't have sorry, that's not true. We may not know during construction that what the segment is for a particular edge. But then as we come through and construct these, we can say that 2 is going to be equal to the 2 cell, and segment is equal to that. That is just, the 2 cell is actually just that. Yep. portal dot segment. Why not? Vector 3. Oh yeah, fair enough. That should be undefined. In fact, these could all be undefined, I think. I've probably just broken a bunch of code, but that I can fix up here. Undefined, undefined, and undefined. All right, getting there here. A star or null. Yep. Object is possibly undefined. Really? And the shortest path. No, that is not true. Mike, underestimating the path length is actually a good thing in A star. If you overestimate the heuristic in A star, then you may shortcut past the optimal solution and find a non-optimal solution. But if your heuristic underestimates, it will still find the optimal solution. So the kind of the degenerate solution, the degenerate way of looking at it is if you set your heuristic in A star to be always 0, then you actually implement exactly Dijkstra, which is guaranteed to find the shortest path, just not get there the fastest way. But yeah, for finding the optimal solution, it's quite important that your heuristic is never gets greater than the actual distance. Okay. Yeah, I find that one really. I've done a lot of search algorithm stuff, and I still get tripped up by that. It feels like underestimating is a bad thing, but yeah, it's that does continue to trip me up. Easy mistake to make. Okay, here it's complaining that states. I think this is true. Hang on a second. We've got a list of states. We reverse them all. We know that state is not null. So this, I don't know why it complained about this one. Did it really complain about that? Object is possibly oh, whoops. While state. There we go. That's a bit better. This is just that change from null to undefined again. So we come through here. It doesn't like this because we want to find ones that do have a valid segment. We're going to return state.traversed segment. And code still doesn't compile. It's not assignable. Change that. Change this function to return undefined. That's this one. Something in here is returning null. There it is. I'll be explicit. I know the default is to return undefined, but I prefer to be explicit there. Did that fix my problem? No. models. Just find, I'm pretty sure I've got that text somewhere. Nope, that's okay, that's okay. Oh, okay. Somewhere in here. This is returning an array of either vector pairs or undefined. I'm going to be explicit here and say this has to be a vector 3 array. And then that should cause a failure somewhere else. Find shortest path. Oh, whoops. Done. I am just going to grab this and put this all over the place because I don't want undefineds coming out of these. And undefined. The whole thing could return undefined. That, I think if I put an exclamation mark here, it will all get better. Almost there. Yep, that can indeed be an undefined. And that looks like it's compiling. I'll just get rid of this type because that's just a bit too noisy. Okay. Spinning it up again. Fingers crossed. This is not exactly what I meant to be doing this stream. I was intending to do a refactor of this code to make it easier to find the bug, but I have so far had 2 bugs just completely jump out at me. They should now be fixed. And here we go. We have what looks like a really long path coming out. So I'm going to spin up the client, server running. I'm just going to find my client window. That's the client code. Here's the client. I'm going to hit up the endpoints to just get rid of all the entities. I'm going to load up a troll. Now I'm loading him up in the same chunk, partly because I can't be bothered working out how to find a chunk that's out to the front of the player. That he won't chase anyway unless I get close. So let's just start running away from him. Hopefully he doesn't sink into the ground. He was doing that yesterday. Oh, no. Oh, this is just silly. The issue here is that I changed my chunk radius and the client doesn't ask the server for the chunk radius yet. It will at some point. I need to change my coordinate system back to 8. So yeah, fingers crossed. I will restart the server. Some services watch this file and restart automatically, but I don't think I've made that change across the board, so I prefer to restart things when I change the chunk radius. It's a pretty major reconfiguration of the service. All right, yep. Fingers crossed from me as well, Node. And here we go. Hopefully it's not a crash. Oh, he's right on me. Here he comes. It doesn't look like he's crossing something. What's he doing? I have turned the changed the client to only show a single chunk at the moment. But something is definitely not right here. Do I have crashes? No, I don't appear to. We are getting a path to the target on each tick. Why is he not following it? The reason for doing the server in a different language to the client is purely because I find languages like TypeScript to be a lot faster just to develop code quickly. So a lot of people would disagree with my choice there based on the performance of JavaScript-based languages. And I agree with that to some extent, but the architecture of my server it allows for massive parallelization of this server infrastructure. So basically, I can spend less time on development and just throw a lot more resources at it. If I did it in C#, it would take me a lot longer to develop things like A star. But if I do need to improve performance, then I can port bits of this across to C# again. Okay, I need to work out why my troll isn't running. All right, let's just see do I have any errors or anything like that coming out? Debug, no. I don't know what's going on here. So a better question, Node, is why I'm using two languages that I don't have a huge amount of experience in. So I don't have a huge amount of C# experience. I've got heaps of C++ experience, and I don't have much TypeScript experience. I have quite a bit of JavaScript experience, though. But yeah, I figured I'd be able to pick up the differences pretty quickly, which has been true, I think. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to get my server restarted so that I can debug the ticker process. So for anyone new here, the ticker is what it's like the update function in Unity, but inside out. So every tick, it just goes through and updates all the entities. So this is where the AI lives. Okay. Are we live? Yep, this is running. Yep. And he is still aggressively looking at us, as Mike points out. He's a very intimidating. Why is he not running? That's really frustrating. Yeah, there's a few things I'm regretting about using JavaScript. So things like A star, these searches, they're potentially going to be pretty heavily CPU bound. And JavaScript can be a bit of a pain for developing IO bound, sorry, not IO bound, the CPU bound stuff. It can be a bit of a pain in JavaScript. You've got to have like worker threads and stuff like that, which, yeah, I'm not looking forward to having to do that, but I will have to at some point. What have I got here? I need to find a place to breakpoint. So my aggro agent is he's choosing an aggro target. That's definitely working. He is turning. That's fine. Ignore the cooldown. He's not attacking us yet. Oh, is he attacking us? Let's just get in a bit closer. Yep, he's definitely attacking us. I wonder if there's something wrong with my cooldown. No, because he can attack me. So I know that the cooldown's not defined. We know that he's not in distance at the moment. We're not in cooldown, so he's allowed to move. We do have a position, so he should now go off and do a path find. Now we know this is working. Oh, no, it's not. What's that done? We've got an error. Uh, why didn't I see this error before? I'm confused. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of C++. I've done a lot of embedded programming, and I know people diss C++ because they're like, it's not low level enough. But my God, some of the stuff you can do with uh, templating and not for generics, but for specializations in embedded programming, you can do some incredible optimization. You can actually remove conditionals in a lot of your code for turning pins on and off on your CPU. It's um, it's an incredible language for embedded development. Uh, okay, that just crashed or something? Oh, no, it's through an exception, of course. Yeah, I'm one of my biggest gripes about JavaScript is the lack of type checking. You can just have two interfaces, two components just communicating through an interface, and they just happen to be talking completely different languages, and you don't know it until you're in production and everything breaks. Um, you can work around it to some extent with unit testing, but um, uh, the having the type system there to check things at you know compile time is quite nice. Um, what on earth could be going wrong here? So I don't get how I got an error. I might need to step through and I need to catch this log message that comes out. So we grab the path. Oh, it worked that time. Oh, I don't know what that was about. It's normally been getting through this far because I was about to point at my screen. Um, here's the path to target that we've been seeing. That's got a really big path to target object on it. Um, and then he works out how far he has to move, which is 1.5 meters. Oh, he's really 1.5 meters? Doesn't seem right. Oh, sorry, that's how far he is going to move. Yeah, he's going to move 1.5 meters. Uh, he is grabbing the path that he wants to follow. That's just pulling out just doing a conversion. That's fine. Um, his next position is, so he has a next position. What is his position? The entity has a transform and a position. Yes, it definitely has its warts. I haven't been following the updates to C++. It's about C++11, I think is the last time I used it in anger. But I'm really looking forward to when concepts finally happens, if concepts ever happens. Maybe it has happened already. But yeah, C++ concepts would be awesome. Because without concepts, that type system in C++ can get really nasty. Some of the worst error messages I've ever seen include big long type names. What have I got here? So we've currently got the troll's position is 0.75.11. Hasn't happened, yeah. 0.75.11. Okay, that is highly suspicious. What's the path he's trying to follow? Oh, yeah, this is... Oh, concepts made it into C++20. Awesome. I might have to take another look at C++. Okay. So these coordinates look very, very wrong. Yeah, the meta classes look awesome. People have been asking for interfaces in C++ forever, and can't remember the guy's name. Is it Herb Sutter that proposed metaprogramming? Um, but yeah, that I very, very much like the metaprogramming idea. Okay. Why am I getting paths starting at 0, 0? This path looks ridiculous. What? This part of the path makes sense. This all makes sense. I must be prepending the path with something really silly. Okay. Let's take a look at my path code again. Oh, well, I might as well just I can use my endpoint in here, just hit up this. I'll pipe this through JQ. I will give it a more sensible origin. Oh, ooh, that's not good. Oh, there we go. I just need to turn off my debug information. And so this is a result of the pathing system. We can see that the x coordinate makes sense. I have no idea what's going on here. What is the path to target? It has points in it. Sure enough, it's pending that. Okay. I guess my next question is, what's the actual request going out here? Entity.transform.position. Can I copy that as JSON? Entity transform position. In here, I just want to copy this as JSON. There it is. The y coordinate should be changing, but that yes, the y coordinate is changing. So this is him trying to pass over the little oomphs in the terrain. So yeah, if we look at it, I think I must be standing a little higher than him. Yeah, so you see the y coordinate come up as he passes over this little ledge. Now I'm not expecting. I believe that I can pass through in the request. Okay, so I've passed through a silly y value. If I were to send through a sensible y value, like let's go from 19 through to 20, then my response should kind of make sense. I don't do any checking any terrain intersection at the origin or destination, which shouldn't be an issue because these locations stored in the client have all come from the server. But if I put in a sensible request, these do map to the terrain. And you can even see here, I'm going from 19 to 20, but this one goes 19. Oh, you need to drop down a bit to intersect with the terrain. And then up here, it's going to clip down through the terrain, in fact, as we get to there. So it's not that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the actual parameter here. Let's copy that value as JSON, and then I'll put in a command. We'll go origin is going to go to there. We can get rid of the ID. That's just something that comes out of my database. And then the destination is going to be path to target, target position. Why won't it give me a copy as JSON in here? I have to do an inspect, and then I can right click, copy JSON. So let's just paste that in there. We don't have an ID this time. Run that. What do we get back? And sure enough, it's returning a 0. All right, time to debug the Pathfinder again. What was my estimate? Half an hour to an hour? Oh, we're only just up over an hour now. Terrain, stop. And then play. Okay, now my suspicion is that it's probably, well, what I need to see the states coming out of this. I need to see the parent state. So, yeah, let's just come in here. I'll just put a breakpoint on this line. Oh, of course, I don't need to do my test case anymore. And sure enough, my origin, whoa, hang on, my origin is 0, 19, 0. What? What's the last item? Hang on, we've got a 0, 0 there. The last item looks like it makes sense. My destination is in fact -3, 3. But my origin should be 0.75, 0.11. How strange. All right. Options.origin. This is going to be something so dumb. Options. It's doing exactly what it thinks it's being asked to do. I'll give it that. Oh, okay, and he's meandering kind of a bit north and south of the x-axis. That's to be expected because I don't have any smoothing in the path yet. So y is, no, I don't want that. I want the, where am I pulling out the, yes, this is where I'm pulling it out. Option. Oh, this is going to be so dumb. Request.body.origin has the correct thing in it. Get vector from body. Parse int. Got to be kidding me. That is pretty silly. No one saw that. Everyone just look away for a second. All right. So I think that well, that doesn't explain why he's not running, does it? I think I've just been debugging a bit of a furphy there. Sorry, Australian slang, just kind of off on a red herring. I think that's probably a better understood idiom. All right. Hey, he's not running very fast, but he is running. All right, so next I'm going to change the client quickly to load up some more chunks. Because when it's loading up that little, it's not possible to step from one chunk to another. So I'll just load up an extra chunk in the radius. We will delete all of my entities just so that he's not aggro against a zombie player, because the players don't get killed when they disconnect. They don't get removed from the game when they disconnect yet. And then in here, what have we got? I need to load the troll up, run the game. Yes, at the moment, the client is the source of truth for the player's location. So you would clip through the ground if you ran off the edge of the world. And he stops chasing us after a while. That's fine. Is it? He going to keep on chasing us? Yep, he's going to keep on chasing us. So I don't like his speed. There's something not right there. Oh, he's doing something silly there. I have a feeling... yeah, I don't like that. And he's too slow. I think there's a bug in my code that tries to get him to move along the path. So he's able to get stuck on something. Okay. Why is he running so slowly? Maybe I shouldn't... I'll take a quick look at why he's running so slowly, but it's not really the focus of what I'm doing at the moment. I might just check what I've got in Trello at the... Trello? Yeah, Trello. He does have... Oh, sorry, I missed your first message there. Per tick, the ogre moves to the next closest triangle. No, he shouldn't. He's got an implicit speed, so I'll show you the code in a second. Yeah, I'm going to call the bug fixing done on this one, because from an A-star point of view, I'm pretty happy with where it's at. With hardly, well, not absolutely no tests, but with hardly any tests, I'm totally happy. Okay, so if you look at the aggro agent, what he does is he gets the path. So he pulls this path back. He works out how far he's meant to move in this tick, which is just his own speed times the how long it's been since then. Yes, bug fixing is a dangerous task. And then what he does is he uses this find distance along path, and this just takes consecutive pairs of points within that path, subtracts them off the distance that he's going to go, and then whatever's left at the end, it just does a linear interpolation along the next segment within his path. So yeah, it's possible there's a bug in this code, or my linear interpolation code is wrong. But yeah, this would be my suspicion, is that this piece of code is not doing what it's meant to do. But it should be sensible. It's not using the points that are being returned in the path as the points that he will move to. He will just move a certain distance along that path chain, the list of segments. So what I will do now, because I'm about to do the funnel algorithm, the string pull algorithm, I will probably do a quick refactor of this code, because I've got all of my graph code sitting in my path controller, and it should be pretty straightforward to refactor this. So I will refactor it, then I will start work on my funnel algorithm. I reckon I'll be streaming about another 45 minutes today. My coffee is cold. Yeah, I've looked at that a couple of times and it seems right. I wonder if it's something to do with. No, I'm not going to think about it. I'm willing to guess it has something to do with a chunk boundary. Is going to be my guess. Um, so let's just create a new directory in here. Um, call it pathing. Put another one under here. A star. Then I am going to just start factoring the you know what out of this. How do I think I can press F6 or something. And that should let me move it to. Oh, I can move lots of stuff. Awesome. So let's move this to services pathing A star. F6 is obviously not right. I want to extract it. Refactor. Nope. All right. I'll just copy and paste and then fix up the compilers. No, hold on. Refactor. Yes, that's a fair point, Mike. I hope so. How do I extract this? I just want to pull it out into a different file. Okay. A star. Create a new file. Graphbuilder.ts. I'm just going to put this into heaps of files. Add an import. I'm going to rename this graph chunk index to just be graph, because while while I was writing it, it did feel like I was writing an index, but really I was writing a graph. Okay, view, new file, graph.ts, paste that all in, files, and nope, import, nope, this is not exported. Export that, come back here, import. Okay, path controller, compute points, don't care. Find shortest path. This is very badly named, isn't it? This is really well, this chunk of code is actually reconstructing the path from the states. So I'll probably factor that out. Get shortest path state is actually a search. So I will likely actually put this into the graph class. Oh, that's a long function. one of the things I didn't think about when I started streaming is how embarrassing it would be having code like this on screen for everyone to see. Because a couple of hundred people look at this afterwards as well. So for anyone watching this live or later, I do apologize for having a, what is it, a 100 line function. Okay, let's do a public search. We need a star state, which I'm going to make a sort of a private interface. Also state index, which is actually the search state. They can be just private in here. Yeah, I like to try and be a bit pragmatic with my coding. If you go and try and get everything structured right the first time, you end up spending far too much time maintaining that structure while you're, designing and re-architecting and refactoring your code. So if you play it a bit fast and loose, then things are a lot better, because you can just go through and do something like this. This is going to take me, 10 minutes to get this looking a bit more professional. New state index for this. Anywhere we refer to a graph, I need to just call it this. Oh, wow, that was the only place I did it. Cool. Okay. So there's my search function. I need find cell near point. This should be graph.search. This needs to move. I have to do that now because that type doesn't exist. A star state, I don't want exposed. So I'm going to move this to begin with just onto the bottom of my A star search function. Let's just do that. That can be equal to path. Turn path. Come back in here. Search function. And then this can go into the exit case, just up in here. Target state. Well, we know that that's always valid. Current state equal to state. Yes, that quote you've got there, Mike, is spot on. Return state doesn't like that. That should be return current state. No, we're going to return the states. No, we're going to return exactly what it says it's returning. So I will just put a quick to do factor out the state to path code. Okay, then I've got a bunch of utility functions in here, like estimate cost. What's this one here? This is that's part of the graph builder. So let's put those ones into A star. After the state code, we'll just throw those as top level functions, given they are private. What am I missing? I am missing, I've got references to graph. Okay, find cell near point obviously should be part of this graph. Let's get rid of that. Change that to this. Throw this one down into the graph class and make it private. this dot, and this dot. Get graph chunk. All right, this is starting to look okay. Find the shortest path. So this function can probably pretty much go. I'll just leave it there for now. The graph builder has to go into... Oh, graph chunk, that doesn't belong here. That definitely belongs on the graph. Immediately before here. So for anyone watching, the graph chunk is actually just the graph for an individual chunk, and then graph is responsible for holding multiple of these graph chunks and stitching them all together. It allows me to dynamically load bits of the graph in my infinite world. So I find that to be a pretty convenient way of doing things. Build chunk graph. Okay, this needs to go up into the graph builder. Yes, and this, do I define this as being a graph builder? No, this should be... I think I say graph builder equals... Can I then just say coord chunk, comma mesh? I think I can get rid of that as well. Put cell in corner index. These ones both belong in the graph builder. Graph chunk it can't find. That's because I moved the export. Why doesn't it like that? Implicitly has any type. Really? It's a bit weird. IntelliJ was able to work it out. Other cell has any type. I am going to go out on a limb and guess that's meant to be a cell. Nope. Doesn't it like? Wow. I mustn't have something typed properly here. Cells is a cell array. Where do I define cell? Yeah, that's the issue. No, where do I define cell? Do I define it in path controller? Yeah, okay, here's the issue. These guys, the cell ID, cell, the interchunk cell reference, and the portal all also belong in the graph. Now, I probably want to move those out into their own files, but not yet. So these are all types related to... Yeah, I've ended up with a 300 lines isn't too bad. We no longer need to import those. My code now compiles. I never set the segment. I do in the graph builder. That cell ID needs to be exported. Yeah, that's some sort of a utility that could probably go somewhere else. Oh, right. New cell, add an import. Can I just get this to fix everything? Oh, okay, yep, it just did fix everything. Bonus. All right. So that is a nice little refactor. Can we run the server? And can we hit up the endpoint still? Hit up the endpoint. Oh, no, I just added another troll to the game. Oops. That doesn't look promising. What have I done? Ooh, ouch. Fatal error in comma, line 0. um, okay. I may need to get it to do a clean build, which I can't remember how to do. All right. Yeah, I mean, this looks to me like it's got some stale transpiled code somewhere. Just going to do a git work in progress, refactoring A star with crashes. Just don't want to, I'm about to delete a bunch of stuff and I don't want to delete my code. I'm going to go pretty hard on this. I'm going to have to put an RF in here, / node modules. So I want to delete all directories called node modules and all directories called dist. Just do an ls -d just to see what it's about to do. Yeah, that's all fine. Change that to an rm -rf. Rerun that. I probably should have stopped the servers, but sure it's fine. Really? Already up to date? Oh, I need to be in services. Yarn. Is that going to work? I'm hoping that's just caused it to do a clean build. No, I want the path. Pathing endpoint. That still doesn't look right. I must be blowing the stack or something. All right, Stack Overflow. Why would I be getting a fatal JavaScript invalid size error? Fatal JavaScript invalid size. Fatal JavaScript invalid size. What's it? Hmm. Too many elements in an array. Okay, so I must have broken something in the either the graph build or the search. Okay. I thought this refactor was going to be really straightforward. I'll throw a breakpoint in here. And then it's going to take ages to actually crash though if this isn't out of memory. Huh. I will probably just not commentate for a moment here just to let me work out what is going wrong here. I may commentate bits of it. Can't remember if I restarted the server. So I'm just going to see whether or not it calls build graph lots of times or a few times. That will give away part of it. So we're in the graph, we're in the search. We come through into the graph builder. We run again. Get rid of that. Run again. So we only run the graph builder once. Okay, that should make it a bit easier to debug at least. Oh, and I look like I got a different crash this time. What was that? Invalid array length. Okay, this time, just by chance, we managed to catch a stack trace. So graph line 230. So this is the best possible outcome. This is crashing while trying to reassemble the result. So it's already done the search at this point. I must just have a loop here. That should be while current state. So what it was doing is state is actually being used as our end state, and that was obviously always defined. So it just kept on pushing the state onto an array. Cool. I was really worried about that one. So run that again, hit the endpoint, get rid of our breakpoints, and we get not a result. Some sort of a crash. I think that was just my usual debugger crash. But without any breakpoints, that shouldn't happen. Still not working. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure it's getting into my result code. So I'm going to breakpoint in here, restart the server, and then just step through this. Oh, this is wrong. Yeah, it's just silly. I should have refactored this code to start with. These both need to be current state. Otherwise, it was just doing exactly the same thing. It was going to be bouncing between the end state and the previous state. So try it again. Disable that breakpoint for now. I'm pretty confident this will get it. I'm overloading state here, but that's okay. I think that's fine. Excellent. I'm getting a result out. The result makes sense. I am happy with that. Will I make a shot at doing the funnel algorithm? Well, why not? Do a new directory. I'm going to call it funnel. So I am going to implement an algorithm that I believe is called simple stupid funnel algorithm. I've seen it referred to that in a few different places. It is a really straightforward algorithm. You start at your starting point, you take your list of portals like this, and you devise a funnel. So you've got the apex is at your, well, over here at your starting point. You then have a line going off to the left and a line going off to the right. And then you just alternate your left and your right. So by advancing them forwards under one condition, which is that your funnel always narrows. If there were a point, say, over here somewhere, you wouldn't update your funnel to include it because that would be widening your funnel from here to here. And so you just skip those nodes. If a funnel update, so we might have one going from here out to here, from here out to here, at some point here, what will happen is it will cause them to cross over. And I'm slightly confused there as to why it happens on that particular step. Let's just go through this walkthrough. So here he's advanced the left. He advances the right to here. He advances the left again because it narrows the funnel. He doesn't advance this one because it would widen the funnel. See there, that would widen the funnel, so he just doesn't advance it. He tries to advance the next one, but it causes the two sides of the funnel to cross over. At that point, you know that the previously updated point, which is this one over here, needs to become your new apex. And then you reinitialize the algorithm and continue it. So over in here, I've already kind of broken this out. I need a way of ordering the portal endpoints. The reason for that, I need to know which ones are going to be on the left and which ones are going to be on the right for each portal for a given apex. So given the apex and given a portal, I need to be able to work out which one is left and which one is right. I'm going to have to define a funnel class. I'm actually just going to move that up first. We'll have the funnel class defined to begin with. We'll then work out the left versus right endpoints of the portals. I'll then implement a function that will consider narrowing the funnel. So if I can find the tab again. So it will, given a particular point, it will go and look at, for example, this point. If our funnel were, if our funnel were in this state and we want to advance and include this point as a left, it will see that that will cause a narrow and it will do the update. Otherwise, it will just skip it. I presume silently skip it. It just won't add that point to the funnel. Detect funnel inversion. So this is really straightforward. What this does is in the cases where, okay, that's just one where it would have not narrowed, but in this one, it's caused the left part of the funnel to overlap the right part of the funnel. And we can use cross products in here, vector cross product. Using the, can you see my hand? Yes. Using the left-hand rule, first vector, cross product second vector gives, well, gives the up direction. It looks like I'm making rude gestures here, but I'm not. So given the left-hand one cross the right-hand one, we expect the result to point upwards. If it ever points downwards, then we know that the funnel has crossed over. So that one's really straightforward. What else have I got in here? I then need to do an extra step that none of the source material I could find actually bothers to do, which is here they've added a new apex. They've got this line heading through here. Where do they finally generate the entire path? Here they have an entire path. Now, in their example, their path just includes a segment from this point to this point, then to there, then to there. I can't do that, and the reason is my cells are all triangles, and they form inflection points potentially in the terrain. So where the terrain may take an up or a down slope. So I actually need to take these segments, work out which portals they're crossing, and insert new points at the intersection of this line segment and the line defining the portal. So I'm going to get started on that. We've got our funnel. Make a new file, funnel.ts. And it looks like someone joined either Twitch or YouTube just a moment ago. I think it was Mike Burns coming back in. The added condition that you need your terrain to lack anything like an overhang. Oh, sorry, I did miss one thing which I almost alluded to, which is when I'm doing the parts of the algorithm that are listed in here, I am going to completely remove the y coordinate. I'm just going to do this on a flat plane. Now, I know that can potentially lead to some slight inconsistencies. If you had a steep piece of terrain, then perhaps the distances aren't going to be right. But for any reasonable terrain that a mob is going to be traversing, it's going to be such a small error that I'm not concerned about the increase in distance because of the incline or decline of a particular triangle that the agent is going to walk on. So I will completely ignore the y coordinate when I'm doing the funnel part of the algorithm. I'll only consider it again once I start intersecting it with the what are these? The portals. So yes, I don't need to worry about that if all my y coordinates are 0. Export class funnel. All right, now I'm just going to kind of think about what this might need. It's obviously going to need an apex, vector 3 apex. It's going to need its left and its right. I'm a little unsure about what's going to happen in the degenerate cases. So an example of a degenerate case here might be if we're trying to pathfind from here to over here within the one cell, then I would expect the funnel algorithm to still be able to do this, or maybe I detect that case and not run the funnel algorithm. I'll have to have a think about that. I might do it as a special case. If they're within the one cell, then just return that path. If they're in different cells, then we're guaranteed we will always have a first portal to go through. Could also remove faces from the Nav Mesh where the normals have a dot product. Yes, that's correct. Yes, so I've got a couple of plans there. One of them is to, so I could take them out, or I could leave them in and have it and have a parameter of the search being the the maximum slope that an agent is willing to walk on. The definition of walk on, I realize, is a bit weird because we don't know what angle they're going to be crossing a given face. But at some point, I agree, there's no point in having the items in there, the cells in there. I mean, maybe you've got a mob that can climb walls or something, and then you do potentially want that, or maybe you implement that a different way. I don't know. Uh, Although I am just thinking all of a sudden, I said earlier in response to your comment on nav meshes versus unoptimized graphs, that I didn't want to optimize my graph. But I think I just contradicted myself with my description of this algorithm, where I'm going to have to ignore the y coordinate at this point in time. And so perhaps I can actually coalesce multiple triangles into one cell, let A star do its thing. Again, ignore the fact that the slight inclines might increase costs. And then from there, I could just put I could increase the number of portals that the line needs to pass through and regenerate those points of inflection. That's something for me to think about later. But yeah, it's why I really like the streaming, because comments like yours there, Mike, earlier in the stream, especially where you asked me that question. Well, now you got me thinking about whether or not I am going the right way about things. So I might want an optimization step in my graphs. Okay. Vector 3, we've got an apex. I'm going to have a private vector 3. I'm just going to define the left and the right. I'm not going to make them optional. I think it's going to simplify my code if they're not optional. And I'll just detect the case where there are no portals and in the actual calling code, and just not call into the funnel algorithm if there are no portals to consider. So I need a constructor. It would make sense to take the apex and I guess a segment as its second parameter. Sorry, a portal. I'll call it a portal. Segment's going to get overloaded here otherwise. Now, I realize that portal also overloads with the graph context. But this is just the funneled view of that same portal concept. It just happens to be a pair of vertices a pair of vectors in this case. Complaining about overloading terms, and then I go and use the word vertex again. All right, so I need to know the direction. I have to think about this. This code, this particular function might not be as simple. This constructor might not be as simple as I was hoping. I need to work out which of these is the left, and which is the right. I just need to minimize the angle between them. No, I can just use the cross product again, because I have said that the left times the right, cross the right, will always give an upward facing cross product. So that's by far the easiest way of sorting the two endpoints. All right. Yeah, so I've mentioned on stream a couple of times that I have a bit of a background in transport searching. So I have worked on products before that do trip planning, walk from here to there, get on a bus, get off the bus. And they use A star for parts of the algorithm, those kind of trip planners. Um, but a lot of the way that you optimize those trip planners is in massively reducing the number of nodes and then repeating your search within those nodes, because you're potentially searching across massive data sets in those cases. You know, if your algorithm also needs to support drive from Sydney to Perth, then you know, it's a massive graph you're searching across. And yes, I know there are other algorithms other than A star to do those searches, but if you want to distribute those searches, you kind of need to be able to parallelize the search. And the best way of doing that is to have multiple levels of hierarchy to your graph. So in those cases, they use usually rectangular nodes, but you can coalesce a bunch of your nodes down into bigger nodes and search from there. It's a very common technique for improving performance. That shouldn't be an underscore. Apex. This apex is equal to apex. It doesn't like that because I have forgotten how to do TypeScript. Vector 3, I think, can just be imported. Why is that not importable? Don't know why IntelliJ wouldn't do that for me. Okay, so I need to order those vertices. So I'm going to have a private, not vertices. I've got to stop saying vertices. Order endpoints. This is going to take a vector 3, vector 3. And then let's go portal. And it's going to return a vector 3, vector 3. Now, I might want to also return it's working. If there are cases where it's going to be useful to do a cross product straight after this, then I can just add the cross product in as a third parameter or something. But for now, let's just do, I think, have I implemented cross product? If portal 0 dot with that. Yes. Yeah, that could be interesting to do as an aside. Yes, real time. There are lots of really good algorithms for static searching of transit systems, and they don't necessarily fall down when you get to real time. They can just become really difficult because you might need to, whenever a real time update comes in, you often need to go and update absolutely huge amounts of data. And if real-time data is coming in every 5 seconds or something, which is, you know, not out of the question, then you're constantly updating that data, and you need to be able to ensure that all of the search algorithms have a consistent view of the data. So there's some interesting problems in there, and yeah, maybe as an aside, that would be a good topic for me to cover. I don't know what I've done in here. I've got oh, this is just wrong syntax. Portal 0. Cross, I have apparently already implemented this. Bonus. Now I said I was going to ignore the y coordinates, didn't I? So I think I actually have a dot with y because I so often want to collapse the y coordinates. So I can do portal 0 dot with y cross portal 1 dot with y 0. if that dot y is greater than 0, then return portal. Else, I'm even gonna, can I do this in place? No, I'm not gonna do it in place. It's asking for trouble. Otherwise return, in fact, I'm gonna be explicit here. I'm never gonna even return the original portal array, just in case, I don't know, something else modifies it. Otherwise, we're going to return portal 1 and portal 0. So notice that these will still have their y coordinates intact. That's because I do need to retain those for later stages of the algorithm. Now, I'm going to need some sort of a state. So I'm going to need a class. No, I'll make it an interface for now. It may even be a type. Let's just see. I'm going to call this a segment. So this is a resulting segment. Does anything guarantee the winding order of the portal coordinates relative to the current apex? No, but I think that this is correct. Like, it doesn't matter what direction either of these is. So what we're trying to do here is just minimize. If we assume that this one is the left and this one is the right, in short, no, I can't guarantee it. The way the graph is built, there's absolutely no, I don't believe there's any way of guaranteeing that. But if this is considered to be the left, this is considered to be the right, I believe it's always true that if the angle between them is less than 180, then we will get a positive y, unless I'm misunderstanding your question here. If this angle is greater than 180, then we know they're round the wrong way. I think that is true. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true. I'm now not so sure. Yeah, it has to be true. I'm going to write a test. Excellent. So, yeah, yes. So what is the very first thing it's going to do, by the way, is this is going to pass in this dot underscore left. Oh, well, let's do const left comma right is going to be equal to order the endpoint. I think this can be static, can't it? No, it can't be static because we need to know the apex. Oh, this method is wrong. Just to your question is completely valid because this is missing a parameter. It's not enough to take just those two coordinates. What I need to take is the angle between the apex. So in here, I actually want to do portal 0 dot minus the apex because I need that vector from the apex. So your question is absolutely valid. Apex does that across the portal 1 dot minus this dot apex. Now I'm just going to factor some of that out. Const, I'm just going to say first is going to be equal to that. And second is going to be, I don't know why I didn't do that using the refactor command, but let's just, oh, that's why I didn't do it. First. Okay, that'll let me do it now. Grab that, refactor, doesn't like it. Oh, because I'm now refactoring the wrong thing. Let's call that, oh, that's a good name, but no, I'm going to go second. I can spell it. If I can spell it, there we go. Second.y greater than that. Excellent. So yeah, thanks again, Mike. This is not valid TypeScript. 3. Okay. So go, this left is going to be equal to left. Pass the portal through in here. And this dot right is going to be equal to right. Out of interest, in TypeScript, can I instead do that inline like this? Yes, I can. Awesome. Code review gremlins, yes. Okay, so we initialize the apex. This is a little dodgy because the order of these is extremely important, given that this one is using the apex. So I'll even just put a comment on here. Note, this requires that apex be defined, given I am using it with a not fully constructed apex. New error. Apex not defined. I may pull that out at some point once I'm satisfied I've got this right. Oh, right. I need a definition of a segment. Now, a segment is going to have a start, well, I'll just give it an end for now, which is a vector 3. And I'm going to give it a list of portals that it has crossed. And then this funnel class will build up a list of these segments as it moves along. And then using that list, it should be able to reconstruct a path. That is my plan. Portals, vector 3, vector 3. And it's an array of those. Okay, so we can have in here private segments, which is a list of segments. Oops, I don't know what I was trying to type there. Sometimes my mind just goes into autopilot. I don't even know what language I was trying to write then. Initialize segments to be empty. Awesome. Where am I at? So I got a funnel class. I've got a something to order portal endpoints relative to the apex. Implement narrow. So public. I'm actually just going to do add portal. This is going to take a portal. Now, the best way of doing a narrow, I assume I can use the cross product again. Vector cross product angle between two vectors. Between two vectors. So It's the inverse sine of the cross product divided by product of their magnitudes. All I want to do is compare them. Now, I know that they will never be more than 180 degrees apart. So theta is always going to be less than or equal to 180. Sine of theta will therefore vary from 0 up to 1 and then down to 0. So I don't think I can easily do anything other than calculate theta on each yeah, I'm just going to use this to calculate theta. So I'm going to pass a third parameter in here. I'm going to name these just to make it a bit clearer now. I don't think these names get enforced anywhere, but it does. I think I'll get documentation from IntelliJ. Let's call it cross vector 3. I'm going to call it the flat cross because it's the flattened cross product. And in here, I will store this as flat cross and return flat cross. Just means I can reuse it. Sine theta sine theta is less than 1. That will give me sine theta less than 1 tells me that yeah, okay, hang on. Domain I don't think is -1 to 1 for sine. Hang on a second, let me just remind myself what sine looks like. Oh, hold on. Yeah, sorry, I'm really not thinking this through properly. Yeah, I keep on thinking of things as let me just pull up the something resembling a source here. Yeah, I can do it even simpler than that because in a case like this one where we want to reject this edge, what I actually want to do is I want to say, well, we're pushing the right edge forward. If the new point is to the right of the right edge, then we're widening. So I can literally just sort the existing right and the candidate right, and if they're if the current right is to the left of the candidate right, then we are widening the funnel. So yes, I don't need to calculate theta. I can again just use the y value greater than 1 trick. So do I even need to pass the cross product back? Well, I'll pass it back anyway, just in case I need it. I don't think I'm going to need it though. I know that's not quite what you're saying there, Mike, but you just prodded me, I think, in the right direction. So when we add a portal, we want to consider the left, and then consider the right. Hopefully what I said will make sense when I implement it. To do the left, I need to know I think I need an is left of function. Is left of, I've got a portal being a vector 3, vector 3. No, not a portal, sorry. Let's go original, comma, candidate. Is candidate left of original. Is candidate left of original. I've got original candidate, which is, nope, these are just meant to be vector 3s. Vector 3. So, are you in the US, Mike? If you don't mind me asking. All right. Because if you're in Europe, you're kind of getting beyond late. Oh yeah, you are getting pretty late there. Wow. Is candidate left of original? So I'm just going to do this same thing. In fact, I can do that. I'm not going to return the flat cross anymore because I'm going to lose access to it. Is candidate left of original is going to do that, but I'm just going to return. I'll just check that this is round the right way in a second. Flat cross.y greater than 0, I think. Okay, so yeah, no worries, Mike. Find name portal. So that needs to be original candidate. So we've got these are only correct for contiguous points. Funnels. Yes. Yes, this is true. I will put a comment on my class. I believe it is true that as long as these are parts of connected cells, adjacent to each other, yes, I believe this is true. Not skipping any cells. Yeah, you'd need an infinitely large cell for it to break with this assumption. Yeah. But if you skipped any cells, then you could wrap around. Agree with that. Okay. I just need to check that I've got this around the right way. So I've got my, oh, sorry, I think I keep on bumping my microphone. I've got my first times my second. I think that I need y to be less than 0, because if first cross second is less than 0, it means that second is left of first. Yep. Okay. I think that's right. What have we got here? So if portal 0, if is candidate left of original, so if the left in here, I think I can actually go left, comma, right. And then in here, I can go if left, comma, right. We need to swap them. Otherwise, we do that. I'm not a fan of this function name or what it's doing. Is ordered left to right. Then I'm going to rename this one to left, this one to right. I'm spending a lot of time just kind of flipping this code around, aren't I? But hopefully, hello, R&M guy. I'm currently working on a multiplayer survival crafting game. Working on the server-side code at the moment. Working on the pathfinding to get the mobs chasing after the player. And I've got the main part of the search working. I'm currently working on smoothing the path so that he doesn't kind of take weird, jumpy, jagged paths towards you. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and I never mind repeating myself. So first is going to be equal to left. No, that's, yeah, left minus that. Second is the right minus that. Then tiny bit of maths, vector maths going on here just to implement this smoothing. It's really important that the engine knows which parts of the mesh, the terrain mesh that it's trying to navigate across, are left of other bits, left of versus right of. So I'm just giving it that ability at the moment. So flat cross is first, cross second. Now, I keep on doing this up on stream, and it looks like I'm making rude hand gestures, but here we go. We've got first. I'm using the left-hand rule. Cross product second. So first is left of the second. Then we expect the y value to be, where's my hand there? The y value to be up. So if this is ordered left to right, then y will be positive. So that's going to be greater than 0. I'm sure there's a very strange case here where they are collinear, but I'm going to ignore that. It's a problem for future me. Oh, right. What do we have in here? If is ordered left to right, then return left and right. Otherwise, return right, comma left. Okay. Doesn't like something in here. Else if too many brackets, no. No, thanks for dropping in, R&M guy. A stream midnight every UTC most workdays, so Monday to Friday. Feel free to drop in again if you like. Subscribe to my channel too. You'll get notification. You can get notifications then when I am live. Okay, it doesn't like something in here. Thanks. Ending return statement. Oh, I have an ending return statement. ordered. Have I just spelt something wrong? Oh, missing an opening brace. Okay. So we can order the endpoints now. Consider the left. If is ordered left to right. Now in here, I'm going to pass in the left part of the funnel, left arm of the funnel, and just rename these to left, right. So if the arm of the funnel we currently hold yes, that's my conclusion as well, Mike. This is ordered, if it's ordered left to right, our existing funnel arm and the candidate funnel arm, then this is a perfectly legitimate left-hand side. So I need to record, at some point I need to record the segment. I'm not sure exactly when that happens. So for now, let's just put underscore left is going to be equal to left. I know that this is not perfect because in here I need to do, when do we add this portal to the next segment? If this case is not true, then we just ignore it. All right, if this dot is ordered left to right, right, comma, this dot underscore right, then this dot right is going to be equal to right. Okay. This definitely supports narrowing in my mind. I haven't tested it, but what kind of a person tests software? So I think I've implemented narrow. Detect funnel inversion. Okay, so I do need to do that in here. Feels like I'm duplicating a lot of code here, but I'm just gonna roll with it. Test if this would invert the funnel. So we then do if is ordered left to right, well, I'm going to change the sense of this. Check that this doesn't invert the funnel. Make it a bit clearer in my head. So our candidate is left. So this dot right. Something doesn't feel right to me. Something doesn't feel correct to me here. It feels like there is a priority. The way I'm coding this, left has a priority over right, and maybe that's not a problem. Yeah, I usually on this project, it's not what I do when I'm working commercially, but on this project, I'm writing unit tests as I need to. If a piece of code doesn't work, then I'll start by refactoring it, and then to make it easier to test, and then I'll just write some unit tests. Check that this doesn't invert the funnel. So I actually want left, comma, this dot underscore right. So this is a valid candidate still. So we do that. Otherwise, this is going to invert the funnel. So I need to, this is the case where I need to emit a segment. No idea what that's going to do yet. But at the point that we cross, we go and update the yeah, so it's not left, hang on. Which one gets at the point that, oh hey, that's just an ignored edge. This is at the point where it crosses over and we set the other side to the new apex. So in here, I am just going to pass this dot underscore right, I guess. Probably also need to pass a something to do with the portals. I'll worry about that in a second. We've got a new apex. The vector 3. This dot apex is equal to the new apex. All right. What have we got next? What's wrong with that? Oh, this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about the fact that left gets precedence over right. Maybe that's not true because we're just calling this in a loop. And maybe it just means that if there are two equivalent paths, maybe the mob will find its path faster. I don't know. Okay, if this dot is ordered left to right, so this is checking for a valid case. In a valid case, we've got this dot underscore left, comma right. In that case, we do that. Otherwise, this dot emit segment, this dot underscore left. Nice. Okay. Now, we are always adding, whenever we add a portal, or process a portal, I think it's true that we always add it to the next segment. Let me just confirm that. So from here, ignoring this because I don't use this concept that he uses of a center. Yeah, I don't go via the centers of the nodes, so ignore that for a second. When we add, at the point we add the left, welcome back, Aaron Demgo. At the point that I add the left funnel, so over here, we're adding the left, this portal is guaranteed to be in the next segment. Okay, this first case is boring. He does right, this guy does right first. I think when you emit the segment, you need to set the member funnel to the emitted point, and the left and right points. Oh, I do indeed. You're correct, Mike. Yeah, that's a slight issue I have here. I need to be kind of looking one ahead. Thank you, Aaron Demguy. Every fortnight I put out a devlog as well. It's usually about a 10-minute episode just describing what I've been doing over the previous 2 weeks. You're right. As I emit, I need to know what the next segment is. Now, probably the best way of doing that is actually to put a buffer in here. I kind of do it. I pass in the first one at construction time. If I were to store a buffer and if the buffer is empty, then don't actually do any of this stuff. Just pass this into the buffer, and then as each one comes in, process the buffered segment, and then put the new one into the buffer. I think that will do what I want. That will mean that as I emit one, I always know what the next one is, so I can pull it at this point out of the buffer. And yeah, I think that makes sense. So I need a buffer on here. Portal buffer, which is a pair of vectors or undefined. I'll make it null, just because I am going to be setting it. I don't like setting things to undefined. So when we construct it, we need to construct it without a buffer. When a portal comes in, if buffer is null, then buffer is going to be equal to left, right. Oh, I don't actually sort these, do I? Let's do that. Let's go portal. Which is fine because we don't know how it's going to be sorted at the point that something goes into the buffer. As we pull stuff out of the buffer, we can then sort it. I think this is right. Buffer, if buffer is null, then buffer cannot find, oh, this, yeah. Me and JavaScript do not get along. I'm using IntelliJ. I think WebStorm is more common for same company. WebStorm is their product for doing JavaScript, but I use I've got a license to their everything bundle, and most of it just runs within IntelliJ, which is usually their Java IDE. For my C# code, I use Rider, which is by the same company as this. You're heading off, are you, Mike? Fair enough if you're given what time it must be in New York at the moment. All right, so if we do that, then I'm just going to return. So if there was nothing in the buffer, we just put this item into the buffer and do nothing. Otherwise, I need to pull something out of the buffer. And what I can do then is I can do left and right is going to be equal to order the endpoints from the buffer and set the buffer to be whatever we just passed in. Okay, so as we pass a new portal in If there's nothing in the buffer, we push it in and we just return straight away. When we come through a second time, we pull the left and right edges out of the buffer and push the next one into the buffer. That'll get processed on the next iteration. We're currently processing a buffered one. If the funnel, the existing funnel, is to the left of our new left, then this is a good case because we're going to narrow the funnel. And if we don't cross over the right of our funnel, then this is still a good candidate. So we just set it and return. Well, don't return, we continue processing. If this new endpoint would cross over, then we need to emit a new segment. We get rid of that to do because that's about to become really clear to me, I think. Okay, now, if we emit a segment, then there is no point in processing the next side. So down in here, I'm going to do a return. And the reason for that is, for anyone new here, I've noticed the numbers have just bounced around a lot. I'm implementing this path smoothing algorithm called stupid simple, I think it is, simple stupid funnel algorithm. I'll actually drop the link down into chat so that if anyone does want to read along, you're welcome to. So if we consider moving the left forward, where's a case where the left moving forward breaks? So this is one where the right moving forward gets ignored. And then over here, the left moving forward causes a new apex, a new segment to be emitted, and the apex to be moved, at which point we will be then initializing the next segment of the funnel. So for that reason, if the left causes an emit, then we ignore the right. Now I'm about to change emit to actually swallow the buffer. That's all good, that's all fine. But if we get through to the right-hand side, we check whether or not this is going to narrow the right-hand side, check that it's not going to cross over to the left, and emit a segment. Okay. Where is my Trello board, just so that I can see? Yep, I'm still detecting funnel inversion and handling it. So when we emit a segment, it needs to do two things. It needs to move the apex forward. It's going to be more than two things, I suspect. It needs to initialize the rest of the. It needs to initialize a new funnel. So it's literally just going to say const. No, not const. It's just this dot underscore left, comma this dot underscore right is going to be equal to. I just realized this has been quite a long stream. What are we at? We're at almost 3 hours. Okay. I will have to take off soon to get some food. Otherwise, I'm going to start getting cranky. Okay. This dot order points this dot underscore portal buffer. This dot portal buffer is null. It is fair to say that we will always have a portal buffer because we can only get into this code here if there was a portal buffer. Sorry, here. There was a portal buffer. We configure the portal buffer. We can then call emit segment. So I'm confident that we always have a portal buffer at this point in time. It will throw an exception if that's not true. It won't throw an exception, but yeah, whatever. What do we got? This dot portal buffer equals null. I do need to add a new segment. So before we update all of this stuff, emit the actual segment. Now, a segment, what did I say? It has an end and a list of portals. So the end is easy. We're going to push a new segment in. And okay, so we've got an end, which is the new apex. And we've got the portals, which I'm not sure what they are yet. I think that what we can do in here is just say private pending portals is just vector3, and it is an array of these. We can initialize that in the constructor. Pending portals is just an empty array. Then as we emit the segment, I may not need the portal buffer. We'll see. This is why it's good not to put too much effort into getting the design right up front, because you often realize you weren't quite thinking in the right direction anyway. This dot pending portals. Yes, I'm going to get rid of the portal buffer. And I'm just going to use the pending portals. So this clears out effectively the buffer is the last item in this. So emit, we need to do this dot pending portals is going to be equal to an empty list again, because we have consumed them all. And we consumed them with that. I'm not happy with this. My code was about to get too complicated. Let's just leave the buffer in there for now. It's not clear when I'm going to add things to the pending list versus the buffer. But portals can get initialized to that. We set that. We can pull off all of our pending portals. But we do want to take the next one and initialize that in there. Yep, this feels a bit cleaner. When I construct the item, we can put the portal, the first portal, in there, because that is going to have to be consumed. This .portal buffer, we know that's definitely defined. Clear that out. Okay, so as one comes in, we can emit the segment. Okay. Put out endpoints. Trying to work out where to put where to transfer. I guess it's when I pull stuff out of the buffer is when I do also want to put them into the pending endpoints. So this dot pending portals, sorry, dot push left and right, because they need to be ordered. Have I broken that assumption up here? Pending portals is always ordered. It's the buffer that is not necessarily always ordered. Do I ever do anything with the portal other than just sort it? Sorry, the buffer, other than just sort it? No, I think this is fair. All right. So next I can just get the result, right? And this is going to return a list of segments. This will have to be, right, export segments? No. So this is going to return the actual segments that we've collected so far. But it needs to, sometimes if we, well, it will always emit whatever else is pending. Hmm. I think I need to give it the destination here. I do, otherwise it doesn't know where to end the last segment. And it needs to sort of consider the last point. I wonder if the reference material that I'm using describes how to handle the last point. He do it. So he's going to point B. He gets to here. He tries inserting that. What if B is around here? That would be... yeah, this reference material really glosses over the ending. Because what should happen here normally is we set the apex to here. We set up a funnel. And I guess the condition for handling the termination at the end is if B exists within the funnel, so to the right of the left arm and to the left of the right arm, then a straight line can be put in here. If it's to the left of the left arm, then we need to put in a new point there. If it's to the right of the right arm, we need to put a new point there. So I'm going to pass the destination in at this point. To get the result, you need to give it the destination. And you then, well, this then needs to process that. If const to destination is going to be a vector from the apex to the destination. Destination minus apex. And then we need to say if the to destination is left of the left arm of the funnel, emit a new segment else if this dot is ordered left to right, this dot right, comma, to destination. Okay, so this is going to check that the destination is not too far to the right. If it is, emit a new segment. Then somewhat irrelevant, we can then do a this actually, yeah, I can just push a new segment in with the destination in both of these positions. So it's basically a zero length portal. It's a much more sensible way to do it. So I can actually do this dot add portal. I can pass it the destination twice, which may cause these emits here to happen. That's fine. Then we can return the segments, and then we need to give it a new segment, which is whatever is pending. So there will always be a segment because of the way I'm buffering the portals up in here. And then we've got, let's see, its end is going to be at the destination. Its end is at the destination, and its portals is going to be any pending portals and the portal buffer. That is true only if the buffer is defined. This is a dodgy little JavaScript hack I happen to know. This could potentially be null. Oh, in which case this code won't work. Yeah. Ordered buffer. Okay, if no const remaining portals is going to be equal to just a copy of this dot pending portals. And then if this dot portal buffer is defined, it's not null, then we'll push it into the remaining portals. But the buffer is not necessarily ordered, so I may need to order it. Okay. Then all of that can come out and just become the remaining portals. All right, my code compiles. What more could I want? Coming back into A star, I can't remember where I do my my path smoothing. probably in the controller. Generate path. Here we go, compute points. So this takes an origin, a list of portals, and a destination. So in here, I can do a const funnel is going to be equal to a new funnel. It's going to take the origin as its first apex. Before we do that, we need to check whether or not there are any portals. If there are no portals, then the origin and destination are in the same cell, and there's no reason to run the funnel algorithm. So if portals.length is 0, then we can really just return the origin and the destination. That's a nice easy case. Otherwise, we create a new funnel, passing it portals 0. That will initialize the buffer. Then what? We just need to loop over the rest of the portals. Portals dot, how do you get a sublist in? I just want to skip the first item. JS array slice. Portals dot slice. In fact, I can do better than that. Let's just do const first portal, comma, other portals. I'll use the spread operator. Is going to be equal to portals. Now in here, I can just go first, and then other portals dot for each. Funnel add portal. I'm going to be so surprised if this works. Okay, now I still need to map all of the segments back onto the portals. So this might have to fall over to tomorrow, because I am definitely running out of time. I need food and I have an appointment coming up. Segments is going to be equal to funnel.getResult for the destination. That should flush out all the buffers. Don't need that to do anymore, but I do need to map the segments back onto their portals, just to get around the sort of the points of inflection. But for now, I can just do segments dot map segment to segment dot end, and that will return a path that will kind of clip through terrain, I think. Stop it, rerun it. We get a path back out. That's promising. I'm a little surprised. What was the previous one? Oh yeah, the previous one had lots of points in it. Hang on, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points, whereas this one only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a very good sign. It'll increase again once the segments get mapped back onto their portals to get around the points of inflection in the terrain. but I think that this will at least be doing something sensible. I don't know how many trolls I have in my world. I've got a feeling I've got a couple of them. Yep, so they are both coming at me. If I go over a hill, probably notice that they will clip. Something's not right there. I am seeing clipping going on. I don't know what the story is there. The walking backwards is really strange. So I'm going to have to look at that after this stream. But I reckon they are doing an okay job. They're really stuck of following a nice short path when they aren't stuck on whatever this bug is. Here we go. Oy. The lag is just because of the way that the back end is configured at the moment. Yeah, see, he clips into the terrain there. That's all fine. Because I haven't put that mapping back in. So I'm going to call it there. Thank you everyone for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for the devlog episodes that come out every fortnight. There'll be one this weekend covering all of this pathfinding that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. So until next time, I'll catch you all around.